Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Local Service Podcast. Today we're in Cibolo, Texas, with our good friend here. I'd consider Alexis Rodriguez from Detail Aesthetics. So yeah, man, this podcast is just to talk local services, your story, how you get your customers, and yeah, man, how's it going?
It's going, man. It's going really good. Busy.
If you don't mind getting in the yes, sir.
Okay. Cool. It's going good. Just being busy, finally, after a long time. So it's going really good. I'm blessed and just working at it, man.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for having me. I know it's a Saturday, by the way. It's a busy Saturday for our friend here, Alexis, and we're squeezing in. I'm coming in for a trip with family, and then you have family stuff too. So very awesome that we can make this happen. So my first question, dude, is where are we? Cibolo, Texas.
Yeah, so Cibolo, Texas is a neighboring small town next to Schertz, Texas, which is, I guess, the bigger town. And it's kind of northeast side of San Antonio, but it's really small. But the population has grown tremendously over
Cibolo.
In Cibolo, yeah, over many years now.
What would you say? So are you from here?
No, so originally I'm born in Georgia, but don't ask me anything because I was only there for like a year. But I was raised a good part in a couple states, and then I did a lot of my, I guess, family raising in Puerto Rico. And then I've been here in Cibolo since 2004.
Okay.
So half my life.
Okay. So the majority of your life at this point, you've been in Cibolo.
Yeah, exactly.
So what even brought you here?
My dad was military or former military, so that's what kind of got us here, and then we ended up staying. And
Gotcha.
Then he eventually retired, and we liked it here. I was much younger, and this would become like my second home. So
Okay.
Definitely a local now after all these years.
Yeah. And so that's really cool. And it's interesting for me to be here and ask these questions because there's the people who have businesses in like metropolitan areas, like large millions of people population. And then there's the people who have same business just in a smaller locality, but both work. So it's cool to see both parts. And I've never really dove into the smaller market because obviously it doesn't matter. Like you can get it. Whether it's a big city or little city, big town, little town.
Yeah, it's just your work ethic.
Yeah.
That's all it comes down to.
Yeah. So I guess we should explain, what do you do?
So Detail Aesthetics is a automotive detailing business. Nice and simple, just like most. But the approach is a little bit more private. But that's just been something I've developed over many years of detailing. So
how and when did you get started?
That's the big one. That's the story. So
And we got time, so
yeah, exactly.
Go all the way back
So,
and just let us know, man.
Who doesn't like talking about their story? I like it. So nice to, I guess, just to jump into it. So me and my wife was my girlfriend by that time, many years ago now. Oh, we've been together for a decade now. I was in a crossroads, I guess, after going to college and not really knowing if that's what I wanted to pursue. I studied criminal justice law enforcement, but I always liked cars, and I was probably in my early 20s, like 24, 23. Yeah, around there. And when I finished college and got my degree and all that, I was just like, man, I don't know if this is what I really want to pursue. I thought about joining the military, a lot of different avenues. You know how it is when you're at that age, it's kind of all over the place. And we got to a point where I was just like, well, I don't know what I want to do. And then one day, I guess something didn't go well at my previous job. And we had a moment where my wife was like, hey, I think you need to do something, but I think you need to try to figure it out now because we're all getting older.
And just for context, what were you doing?
So I was just working part-time jobs. So I worked at a local tire shop for a couple of years, like through college and all that, and then going to school. And then I did some other odd jobs that were just like maybe, let's say, 3 months at most. So there wasn't anything stable per se, but the tire shop was a very stable place. And, we got to a point where, you wanted more, but you didn't know what you wanted. That's how kind of I looked at where I was at that time, which I think a lot of people are at, especially at that age. And then my wife gave me that push, or my girlfriend at the time, I guess you could say, and she's like, just do what you want. And oddly enough, I was like, I like cars so much, and I was into like detailing like my cars, because I've always been like kind of a big sports car kind of kid, and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna wash cars, and that's literally what I said, and she said okay. And
So, but like, how did you know? Like, did you know that could be a business at the time? Like, did you ever get the service done yourself? Like, did you know pricing?
I mean,
did you know, like, how much did you know?
I guess at that time, we're talking about like 8-9 years ago. At that time, like, you'd go to like the car wash, but I didn't know too much about it. I just knew I liked doing it. And I knew that it was a job. So when I'd go like on Indeed or something or Craigslist for jobs, I saw that it was a job that I could actually make money and go from there. But I didn't know, I didn't learn anything until I already immersed myself into that type of business. And then over years, you learn. So
right. So okay, so you're like, okay, I'm gonna wash cars.
Yeah.
This was 8 years ago or so. What's the transition? How did you get your first customer? What did you practice on? How did that process go?
So I started like most. I started at dealerships. So I started in a really horrible dealership. It was small. It was gross. Obviously, it's a big name brand, but it was a really rinky-dink dealership. So I started there working for minimum wage, so a lot less than even what I was making before. And then we just started there. So that's kind of where I got like the reps in. Beside cleaning your own car, I started doing the customer or the customers of the dealership's cars. And then over time, I was just like, okay, I'm really starting to like cars. And then you immerse yourself, and obviously we're in that age group where we have the internet and YouTube and all that, and I started immersing myself in just like all the car detailing videos. And then at that time,
So this was years ago.
Yeah, we're talking about like 2015, 2014.
It's crazy that there was already content for that, even back then.
Yeah, I mean some of those guys you don't really see anymore, obviously, but a lot of those people that I kind of learned about are much bigger now this day after so many years. But yeah, so I just started looking into just car detailing and just learning like really mundane stuff like how to clay bar a car, how to wax a car, just like anybody, and that's what I brought to work. But what happened is over time, I was becoming too invested in doing stuff properly or caring too much when that was not part of the business trade of what they had me doing. It was get it done
Speed.
and go. Yeah.
Speed.
Yeah. And
in and out.
It's not really detailing per se at a car dealership.
Yeah.
So I started there, and then
how long were you there for?
Man, close to like 9 months.
Okay.
Everything, like my whole journey, everything was kind of like more short term.
Yeah.
But it was me progressively pushing. So I was at that first dealership, making whatever money. You can make it anywhere. But I liked what I was doing, so I was okay with it.
That's interesting. You liked it.
Yeah.
If there was a place to figure out you're not gonna like it or not.
Yeah.
High rep.
Yeah, and at that age where I was at before I was, progressing later on in personal stuff, it was okay. I could pay the bills or whatever kind of bills you have at that age. So then I wanted to move on to a bigger dealership, something cleaner, nicer. So obviously here in San Antonio, I was looking at dealerships and I found a really bigger one. So I went there. So then I was there for another year. And it was a Nissan dealership. So then I was able to work on, the same thing, detailing or their make-ready department. But then I was able to do like PDIs. So then I was doing a lot of PDIs, and then
what is that?
So pre-delivery inspections.
Okay.
So check the battery, the fluids, make sure the car's make sure the car's working. Take off the wrapping, detail it, get it ready to go on the lot, or do some type of aftermarket protection package, if you can say that. And then that's when I first started getting my hands on GTRs. So they had GTRs come in, and I was able to PDI them and actually drive them through the dealership. Nice. And only 1 or 2 people could do that at the dealer. So I was able to be one of those people, but I had really good work ethic, and I think that's why they let me do it, because it was always kind of like a manager. So then I was there at the dealership for probably 9 months, 10 months, around there, and I wanted to progress more.
So what capped you? Like, what made you go from this is great, okay, I want to go to a better dealership, cleaner, better cars, and then you are at that dealership? Like, what what was that cap where you were like, well, this is I've met the quota here. Like I've done the job here. Like what was that? If you can put it into words.
Quite a few things, but just like most people, financial reasons. Some people are good with being where they're at, and I'm a very irritable person with stagnation. I can't.
Good trait.
Yeah.
A good trait for doing your own business. Good trait.
I can't take it, and I knew at that point we were in a work a couple of years in already. From even before I started, car detailing and just knowledge, at 2016, 2017, around that time, the industry, from what I was watching, I wasn't really immersed into it yet, but I was watching it change. And then I started thinking, hey, this could be a profession. But I've always been the person to kind of really be critical and think about honing my skills before I go out there and try to do an approach that I think that maybe I could not meet a standard. So I left the Nissan dealership and looked for a local high-end shop. So a local detailing shop. So now you see the progression of it. So started at a rinky-dink, kind of cleaning cars, did my own stuff, got into a nicer dealership, but that was it. There was no going more after that.
That was it. Yeah, I got you.
So then I went into a local high-end shop. And then at the local high-end shop, now I'm a little older. As a man, you kind of start thinking about things a little bit differently. Your personal life is changing quite a lot. I was getting ready to get married at that time. I'd been with my partner for a good amount of years. And then it's like, okay, just like you said, we got to make something happen. What do you want to do? Let's do it. What she said that years ago. So in my head, it's like, all right, well, what we're going to do now? Let's progress. Because detailing, I was already kind of invested in it. I've already been a couple of years. I left college.
Yeah.
You can always start over, but I didn't want to start over because I liked what I did. I just knew that I could make money by doing it, just in a different way. I just had to kind of learn more. And it's always learning. It's really what it is, because I didn't know anything at 2017 compared to what I do now.
Yeah.
And it's been 6 years since then. So I got into the high-end shop. It took a little bit to get in there. They're reputable shop. Great things about them here in local San Antonio, and they took me in finally after giving me a few runs, trying to see what kind of person I was, which it makes sense now, running a business, why they would do that, because it's a high turnover rate, and there's a lot of investment with businesses when you pick up an employee. We all know that now. So then I was given the opportunities to detail, but detail at that higher standard like I wanted to at home, and what I learned like on videos, and obviously being there now, I could actually be immersed in it.
So what's the difference? Would you say, like, is it a big difference, like, between the dealership detailing and the high-end shop detailing?
It's in the word detailing. I thought I was very detailed until I got there and I had my first or second day and I was just washing a car. And it blew my mind how I missed a lot of key steps that were not really important at a dealership that are highly important for detailing in a studio or in a shop, and then the clientele that come for that kind of service. It's a different clientele. It's not the same person whatsoever. So I realized that my detailing chops were nowhere near what I thought they were at when it actually came into a profession.
And how was that, like, how did you take that? Were you kind of like thrown back, like, man, I was wrong, or I was way off, or I can't believe this type of customer base, like, this is who I'm looking for, or what?
So when I got into it, I was humbled pretty quick, because anyone can be, you can get into yourself and kind of think you're good, with your ego and all that. I was humbled pretty quick the first few days, where I was just like, okay, maybe I'm not as good as I thought. And then obviously I'm a kid. I didn't know anything about business. So I was still at that age, let's say 26, around there, still unaware of the back end of the business. So with customers, customer service, speaking with clients, emails, invoice, everything. I was completely oblivious to that. So in my time at that shop, after I went through my first rough week, I started learning the right services and how to perform them, and then brushed up on my skills and got really, really good at it, refined it, and I always chased to refine my work.
Do you think that the previous experience at those dealerships had some Like, did that carry over, or was that like more different?
The method, I guess you can say, there's a certain system how you go about cleaning a car. Yeah, I would say that carried over, but at a dealership, I couldn't learn anything business-wise.
Oh, okay. So at this place you could?
Yes.
Oh.
So at this place, it was the first time where I could be actually...
Do you mind being like on the mic?
Oh, yeah. So in this place, I was able to actually immerse myself with customers, actually speak to customers. And at that time, I had horrible speaking skills. I mean, you're younger too,
So what was the role that you were detailing and dealing with customers?
So I was detailing, and then I got into paint protection film. So paint protection film is like clear bra, so like that clear urethane film you apply on exterior body parts of the vehicles. But with that role, I was looked upon at a higher responsibility than the other workers there.
How did you skip the detailing part, or did you get like promoted?
They picked me up for it, yeah. So I guess it wasn't per se a promotion, but they saw that I cared about what I did.
I mean, if I were the business owner and I saw this guy that worked 2 years at a dealership because he wanted to, and he came in, it's like, okay, this guy obviously.
Yeah, they knew I was chasing for sure. They knew that I was going to be a lifer. Like Alexis was going to be in this business, one way or the other. And then I was detailing. I was doing all the kind of the grunt work, but like the polishing. I was still doing all the work, the coatings, the waxing, everything, the paint corrections. So then they gave me the opportunity for paint protection film, and that's where I kind of opened me up to another service. And you just start learning about all the different tiers of automotive detailing. It's not just cleaning a car. There's paint protection film, window tint, vinyl, installing skid plates on the bottoms of bumpers. There's all services that, that make money for a business, and they're all part of that automotive detailing industry. So I was looked upon really high because I had good work ethic. I worked. I mean, I showed up on time or early, and I worked late. I didn't care. I didn't care about clocking out at 6. And I was already driving 40 miles just to go to work there.
Yeah.
So I already was doing an investment. So even for a little bit more money at the time that it wasn't about money. It was about me chasing, refining my skill set because I love the art, or I love the industry so much, and I wanted to really be part of it. So then I was there for more than a year. Yeah, more than a year. That's kind of hard to say. About maybe 15 months, kind of almost a year and a half. And then toward the end of that year, which was trying to get my stuff right, 2018, if I'm correct. We'll see later.
One of those, 18, 19?
Yeah. I wanted to keep pushing. And there it is again. And they had given me that higher, let's not say role. I wasn't a manager or anything like that. But I had the code. I had the keys. I looked at invoices, maybe stuff that they wouldn't show to other people. And I was able to speak to customers.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And I hit it off with a lot of them too. So then over time, it's just like, okay, I'm doing the skill set. I've been doing a lot of paint protection film installs. I'm refining it. Nowhere near the best, but I thought I was good, and it was good enough work where people were happy and they were happy. So it must have been good. Excuse me. So then we get to marriage. I got married toward the end of 2018, November. And I'm always someone kind of pushing. And then we got into the next year, which was 2019. And at that point, you start getting a lot more responsibilities on the personal end. So everything was kind of mounting on my shoulders. I was invested in the work, but let's be honest, just like a lot of people, I needed a little bit more income to kind of survive, at least to live the lifestyle I wanted to live. And I didn't want to go back. So we got into some talks about a pay increase. And they didn't work out. And basically 3 months later, on the start of 2019, they didn't want to pay a certain amount. And I guess everyone gets in a point in their life where they kind of remember something and it kind of defines them. I guess sounds like a movie, like a superhero movie, right? And maybe it's too personal, but someone told me, or I was told, that I wasn't worth a certain amount of money. and maybe it's not into that context, but that's what was said. Maybe just nicer, I guess. But when I heard that, it really hurt. It took me back because I had a lot of responsibilities. I just got married. I had a house. I was trying to progress. I couldn't go back. I was too many years in at that point, at least in my opinion. And it was, what do we do? So my term working there was cut. I was let go, I guess you can say, or quit.
So their decision.
Yeah, it was. Their decision for me, for sure. I didn't have too much say. You know, I was like, hey, I'm open for this period of time. Let me figure my stuff out, and it's pretty much you're done kind of thing. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about the story. This doesn't affect it. So I was here home, 2019, sitting at the table. I got that last phone call from the HR of that company, and they said that they're not going to do it. That's it. You're done. So sat at the table, pretty emotional time in my life, because you can imagine if you have no job and you have all these bills and it's all coming towards you, you got to act. You really got to act, or else everything's not going to work out. So my wife was there and she cared, and she just said, hey, we'll figure it out. You'll do something. So I went to a part-time job, but I knew that I needed something to supply income to keep me afloat, but I just needed to stay afloat, because what I was going to do was I was going to start my own business. So that's when Detail Aesthetics started. So Detail Aesthetics started of March of 2019. That's when I came up with the name. It sounds funny. It's misspelled on purpose at the end because I wanted it to be my own. And at that point, I'd learned a lot about what I seen from the business side of how I wanted to be as a business owner, the stuff that I needed to do, and how I wanted to be with customers. And that's one thing I was learning since the get-go. Since I started dealerships, I saw how people interacted, how managers interacted, how business owners interacted. And I knew over all the years that I've been learning, I could do it differently. And to be cocky, I could do it better. And that's why I started my business in 2019. Yeah.
That's awesome. Great story. Yeah. I mean, I feel like everyone does have that, what you call it, like in the movie where like you're at a point, what do they call it? Like a break point where it's like, do I give in? Do I start something different? But so like in your context, so like what, obviously you were not at that job anymore. Like what made you think like, okay, I know the business now, I can do it for myself. Like what was that process? Like, what were you like, you know what, maybe I'll just do it for myself? Like, when did you decide that? Or how did you decide that? Because you did decide that.
Yeah. That's kind of there's probably a lot of things. And I know it might sound like a dumb answer, but you get older, I guess, and then you take yourself more serious. I don't know. You take yourself more serious, and then not that you expect things, but you want them. And I just wanted it more. And I didn't want to ask anymore. I felt like I'd been asking for a long time. You know, could I do this? Could I have the opportunity to do this? And then when I felt like my skill set there was at a pretty good point and I learned a lot, that's when it kind of started going in my head that maybe I could do it. But I had a lot of pushback, too, from there and from a lot of places. I mean, people were telling me that at that time, they're like, oh, man, the detailing industry is going to be really tough for people to start a business.
You think that was the general consensus among, like, the crowd, whatever the crowd is?
I heard it from a good amount of, like, business owners, and I can see it because it wasn't easy for them. I'm sure it's never easy for anyone, but I don't know if that was, like, a scare tactic.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I heard it from the place I worked at. So you can chop it up to whatever. You can use a scare tactic, or because maybe they could see that I was hungry for more, and that I guess when it came down to it, if I couldn't financially take care of myself, then it was probably going to be one way or the other way. Either way, I was not going to stop. You know, like it's just it was hard. It's a really hard situation, man, because I cared about that business.
Yeah. Man, we have a similar story in that regard because I worked at a place for a while, jumped from like marketing agency to marketing agency, like smaller shops to a little bit bigger. And then I was a place that I liked. And then I didn't get along with like the managers and stuff because I didn't it wasn't the best like actual product. But when I got fired. I was like, okay, well, I should probably try it on my own because I think I can do it. I think I know how to do it. So we kind of share that same story. So, okay. So then you say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and this is a good pause moment. I'm just going to restart this.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're in 2019, Detail Aesthetics. It's always fun talking about, how'd you come up with the name?
So, Detail is super easy. There's nothing special about that. I like the word, and I was just like, hey, that sounds like the great start of a name of a business. Aesthetics, there's a lot of things. So just like most guys, I like working out, lifting weights and all that. And that term of aesthetics, obviously, like the correct way to write it is, it's common. So when it came to detailing, I always kind of looked at vehicles, and it's the aesthetic of, the body lines, the certain details of it. And I was just like, really simple. I'm going to just put an X at the end, take out the CNS, and there it is. I wish there was a more deeper story, but there's not.
Did you have like other options?
Oh, yeah. If you go back years on my Facebook, it went from like Premier Aesthetics. I went through like 4 names in like 2 months. I'm pretty sure people were annoyed.
Do you remember like where you were when you're like Detail Aesthetics? Like that's the one.
So I knew pretty early, maybe it was probably like the 5th name, like writing it down. I was just like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds different. Yeah. And I looked on Google. I was like, nobody has that name. Yeah. For sure. Or at least not spelled like that, right. Obviously. Right. And not in Texas for sure. But then I went away from it because, you're all over the place. And I was, at that point in my life, I was moving fast. I had to do everything. So I wanted to go to the county and get my license or, like tax, whatever thing. So I was jumping back, but then I went to another name, and then I came right back to it like 5 days later.
Okay.
But that was the name, and then I just kept hammering on it and thinking about it, and I was like, it sounds good, though. And
you kept coming back to it. You couldn't escape it. Yeah, I remember I was living at a certain apartment, and I didn't know if I was going to start my own business or not. So I was like 3 months where I was like, am I going to freelance? Am I going to get a new job? And then I spoke to people like, dude, just do it. Like, you've been wanting to do it forever. Like, do it. And I remember, like, I was brainstorming at the dog park, walking up and down, and I wanted it to be something with music because I like music. So you were like referencing gym culture. I was like, oh, I want to do something with music. So Symphony. When I remember where I was like, Symphony. That's it. Yeah. Looked it up, the domain. Like, is it available? Yeah. All right, perfect. Yeah. So that's always fun talking about the name. Okay, so then got the name. For some reason, you knew you needed to go to the county and get all that paperwork stuff done.
Google.
Kudos.
Yeah.
Some people do that at the very end. Some people, like, oh, crap, I got to do taxes. So you got that down. Then what? First customer.
Yeah. So we get into the first customer. Keep in mind, I'm still working my part-time job. So I was working about 35 hours a week. So
doing?
Tire stuff again.
Okay. Yeah. Was it the same place?
Yeah. Exactly.
Nice.
Same
place.
You
gotta always like high five the people that.
And I had a good relationship with the management there, and I'm not going to say names, but I learned a lot. There's a lot of values that I learned from that company.
Yeah.
I never turn my back on it because I use it to this day. I use it in my business, and we'll get into that. So I was working my part-time job and then trying to get everything rolling. And when you're brand new in the business, you're listening to everybody. And you're trying to appease everybody's opinion or what they think you should do, and you're trying to do it. So for a good 6 months of the beginning of that year, so closer toward the end of it, I was everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, posting, business cards, walking to everybody's house. Like a lot of stuff that now I look at, I'm like, never again. Because it got me zilch. I've heard other people get good results. It didn't work out for me, but I'm sure it works.
Right, yeah.
In the right avenue, I guess. So then I got my first customers, so friends and family. Obviously, that's how you kind of got.
Maybe.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't actually know. Yeah. Oh, what's the best network?
Yeah.
My own.
Yeah, so friends and family. And
post, how did they even know about it? How did you?
Posting on Facebook. At that time, Facebook more than Instagram. So just posting, just like, hey, I'm doing car washing. $20. a screaming deal. And then I cared way too much. I spent too much time doing it. So everybody got a really good deal. And that's how it was. Friends and family. And that was for a good while. It's really slow in the beginning. That's why most people don't even make it, after the first initial year, for sure, from what I've learned. So friends and family. And then, like I said, I'm always pushing and trying to learn. I'm on the internet, and I'm like, how do I grow my business? What do I need to do? So then it came into Google My Business. It's different now. It's called Google Maps, I guess.
Google Profile.
Yeah, there you go. So I was like, okay, let me do a Google My Business. So I set it all up. It's easy. It's free. I need a website. So then a good buddy of mine, we did a Wix website. He did it because I'm not really good with technology, especially even if that's easy, I'm not good with it. So he set up a nice actual website. I had 5 pages on there starting off and just everything, services listed and all that. So got it up, and it was still just a lot of Facebook. I had no search engine, nothing from Google was hitting because I didn't really exist at that point. I hadn't done enough yet. So then, go ahead.
To interject, hold that thought though.
Yeah.
And this is all from here?
Yeah.
Which is your home studio.
Yes.
Okay. And just quick, like, were you ever mobile?
No.
You were always
I never wanted to be mobile.
Okay, interesting.
And there's a reason why.
Yeah, please.
I didn't want to be mobile because I did not want to work in the sun. Simple. I'm still working. Okay, I'm still covered. So technically not that way. But I didn't want to do the whole mobile thing. It was, the investment in it is really low. A lot of people do it. But I felt like mobile detailing was not the type of service I was trying to push out there because I was trying to have a very refined service, a more higher end approach, and it was going to take hours to do my kind of work. I wasn't trying to do 2 hours, 3 hours, in the sun with the shade. That wasn't the approach, not for what I wanted to do. It's a good business, don't get me wrong, but it's not for everyone. And at that point, at that age, I wasn't going to start. There's people older than me doing it now, but I wasn't going to do that.
That's awesome. Like, how did you knew? You're like, nah, let me take the other approach.
Yeah, and I got a lot of flack, man. I got a lot of flack from contemporaries from when I left that shop, and they knew I was doing my own thing, or I didn't even have to tell them because the word kind of flies. And I get their opinion, and I was like, hey, you know what? This is right at the time when I, got let go, and I was already going to start it. I was like, I think I'm going to start here. Like, my garage was just a standard garage. It was dark. There was no lights. It was yellow. And I'm going to start here. And I'm going to have to find a way to get customers to come to me. And that's when I started pushing, or learning about Google. And then I started learning about Google reviews. So then it's like, okay, how do I get clients to drop a review? So every time I do a service for them, starting off with like friends and family, a few reviews out of that, but it was all worth something, it adds up. And then, over time I was able to kind of refine the space here. If you were my first customers back in 2019, my first ones that I remember, and they're still with me today, 4.5 years later, they know that I started on a 4-foot table. It was dark. It was like one little bulb. It didn't look anything like this. And that's how I started. And surprisingly enough, people liked the work, but it wasn't just the work. And this is what I tell people now this day. I don't sell detailing. I sell a service. I sell an experience. And that is truly what has gotten me so far compared to a lot of other people that do it at home or do it mobile or do it in a shop. The differentiating factor is the service and the experience that I sell. It is a much more intimate approach. I really care about my customers, and I try to give everything to them and be as honest and transparent. And that's always a really good way in, because guess what? A lot of people are not honest and they're not transparent. And that's really the truth of it. And that's in all industries.
Right.
Especially mine.
Could you give any examples of like what that difference is between what just a pure detailing transaction is, what you're referencing basically? Like someone's just paying for the detailing transaction versus the service, the higher tiered service. Like, what is that? Like, what would you say those touch points are?
Man, honestly, remembering their name is a start. going over your service, explaining things to them, breaking it down, because you got to keep in mind, not everyone's the same. Everyone's going to have a different approach, or people from different backgrounds. So when I first was detailing, let's say at car dealerships, it's kind of like a bang, bang, boo. Oh, yeah, back in, wipe it down, see you later. And then when I started doing my approach, which was here, hey, hello, Mr. Wilson, whatever your name is. Let's walk around the car. Let's inspect it. Is there anything particular standing out to you? Do you have any questions? What would you like me to do to your vehicle? Have you thought about this? Has this ever been something that you might have considered? It's all kind of just the speaking to a customer.
It's like a consultation.
Yeah, it's a consultation. And then a lot of that happens even for the phone call before they even come in. And that has been a really big factor, is that I'll sit on the phone and I'll speak to you for 30 minutes. Most people will say that's not good business practices because time is money. Yes, I agree. And it would suck if you spend so much time and then you never hear from them again. But this is my business and I'm going to do it how I want to do it. And I think there's value in that. And I think there is value to that.
Yeah.
So speaking to them and doing all the same things, do you know about this? Let me educate you on this. So if we're talking about like ceramic coatings, which is a high-end service that I do here, it's pretty much the bread and butter. It's what I've been known for. But why I'm known for it is because of the education that goes with it. I'm not your phone call and then you're like, hey, yeah, I want this. I want it to last this long. Okay, yeah, it's this amount of money. I'll slap you on the butt and I'll never see you again. I don't do that. I give you all the information, maybe too much. I'm very honest, transparent with you. I tell you the things that you need to do to make sure your protection works for you. And if you don't, then it's not. And I'm not going to put a figure on it. I'm not going to give you a year durability and say you're going to be good. That is the biggest lie that a lot of people do right now. So I don't sell a number. I don't sell a year to protection, whether that was ceramic coatings or paint protection film. You need to educate your clients, and I think that is much more valuable.
Awesome. And so we work together. We have a agency client relationship as well.
Yeah.
And from the moment you reached out, it was like, this dude is on point. Like your emails, your texts, your phone calls. Even when we were doing the website, like you had like a process, like very detailed, very respectable. Like you would ask for things, but you'd be like, well, when you have time, hey Cesar, I'd like to schedule a call. Everything about even your text messages, like you do a hi Cesar, here's the message, regards, Detail Aesthetics. And I told my girl too, I'm like, is this guy crazy? Like he always does this, and I have to ask, do you manually put that in, or is that like built in?
It's built in.
Okay,
yeah.
so every time you text
it's
it,
like
it adds it in there.
I forgot what it's called. It's like what you're doing in your text, like on your iPhone, you can do it. It's like
okay, so I guess it's just like signature.
Yeah, there we go. Signature. Yeah, exactly.
I was like, he does it every single time. Like, do you think that question? I was like, I wonder if he always does it. But yeah, from my experience, I was like, this dude, like, he's just on point. He does what he says when he said he would do it.
Yeah.
And doesn't fail. And if you do, like, you're behind or something, like, I know you'll let that person know, because if I ask for something, you're like, hey, sorry, it's going to take me a couple of days or whatever it is. Like, it's always been a very great experience from my end, And so I can only imagine because in our relationship, you're paying me for the service.
Yeah.
But when you're the one that's getting paid for the service, I would imagine it's even better, because you want to give a good experience journey.
So look, customer service. That is what I sell. That is what's brought Detail Aesthetics through COVID in the beginning, when everyone said I was going to die out, and a lot of businesses did not make it that wanted to start up around the time that I did. Customer service is what got me through. Honesty and transparency got me through, and really giving the best experience that I could, down to like what you're saying with those text messages. So my business phone is a separate phone. I don't have a personal phone, and I have all my contacts from clients. I have two separate lines. That's good business. That's your approach to it. I knew that if I was going to work at home and not have a brick and mortar, I needed to show every client from the second they called me or the second they went on Google and got on my website that I was a legit business, and I was going to give you all the same experience. And even if I have to dress up the place, and that's what I did.
Oh, yeah, by the way. Yeah, like this is probably the best garage you're gonna find.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Available.
Yeah. And I had to look the part. And that is one of the things that I learned over time when a lot of businesses that start off at home or mobile detailers or even people in shops, they don't take their approach serious enough. From how you attire yourself, how you speak to customers, how you look, you have to play the part. And if I wanted to play the part of a business owner, not a detailer, this is what I had to do. Because if you only look at you as a detailer, then they look at you as your friend. Or like, oh, yeah, I'll see you next week. Oh, I couldn't make it. But no, I learned over time from all the businesses that I worked at, and then my approach to how I want to run things is that, no, I want my clients to have a certain type of expectation, but I want them to know that I expect a certain type of client too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, hey, I'm going to talk to you properly. I'm going to communicate updates, which a lot of places don't even do that. A lot of their customers call them asking where the car is or if they're done or whatever the case is. I learned that's not what I want to do, so I'm going to update them once or twice a day, depending on the service. And a lot of the cars I work on are here for 2 days on average. And I'm just going to do a nice signature on the text. I'll attach images if they want it or if it's something I need to show them. If there's a reason for me to try to do an upsell, that's how I'll do it because I've learned there's an easy approach to upselling that's not so pushy. By text message, it works. It works really well. Besides
All right,
trying to,
we got to get into that.
Yeah, besides trying to be in someone's face saying, "Hey, you want to do this?" Most of the time, they're gonna say no. So then, it was dressing up the garage. So like I said, it was dark and yellow. And over time, let's invest. Let's paint it. Let's put some tiles. Make it comfy on my feet. Make it look. I've always been a clean person, very, very clean.
Yeah, I noticed walking in here. It's like there's not a thing out of place.
Yeah, no, very clean. My wife is great. I'm great too. So we're really clean. So I want to do that same approach. So I knew that if I could have a client come to my house, if I could just get them to that point, I could sell them by the time they pull in that driveway. And that worked every time, little by little, year by year. Because they got here and they're like, okay, I'm at the right place. They saw everything online. I'm not hiding anything. I tell them on the phone before they get here, like, hey, it's a residential. It's not a brick and mortar. I'm not mobile. And surprisingly, I've had one person, at least that I know of, not say anything about it. Not like, oh, no, never mind. Because at that point, I'd already built up reviews on Google, which are super important for detailers or any business. You really need to get on Google.
Did you notice the difference between when you had, let's say, 10, 20 to when you had over 100?
I started noticing it right when I got into the 20s.
Really?
My phone actually started ringing. I used to get a whole bunch of spam. Keep in mind, this is a Wix website. It's not done properly even at that point. But my Google profile is working. I already had some reviews. I uploaded pictures, which I kind of learned over time. Like, you need to feed Google. You need to do everything you can, put service descriptions. Then I started learning about, like, keywords and stuff like that. So I just started doing that without anyone really pointing. I just got it from Google. But then when I started getting to 20-something reviews, and I was super happy at that time, I was like, man, my wife was crazy. You don't think it's going to happen. Yeah. I wasn't supposed to make it past 2020 when COVID hit,
Right.
And we get into 20-some reviews kind of like halfway through 2020. So freshly still after COVID's still hot at that point. Still got my part-time job. Still keeping me afloat. But I'm detailing, I got a job every weekend. So they're coming in on the weekends or whatever. But yeah, I started getting phone calls and they weren't all spam. A lot of spam or a lot of just pick up the phone, you hear nothing and they click. Excuse me. But then I realized that I started getting phone calls from customers and they're actually real people and they found me on Google. And the first calls that I had, I was extremely surprised. I wasn't even too sure if they knew what they were doing. I was like, I didn't even know how to answer a phone right yet because I'm still refining.
Yeah.
Even I've already been fairly refined at that point. The garage was white, had some lights in here. It was nice, but it was empty. It wasn't like this. This is all dressed up. I hadn't refined my skills yet because keep in mind, you keep learning. And I'm only not even a year in the business yet by myself. So I got the first phone calls. I'm like, yeah, okay. And I had my price. I was like, yeah, we can do it at this. Give you a little bit more information. And then some of them be like, okay. Then a lot of them were like, never hear from you again. And then over time, it just started growing. And it was all by myself. I haven't even reached out to a marketing agency. This is way before you and the first one that I ever had.
I mean, yeah, you're talking about 19, 20, 21. That's another 3 years of building.
3 years all by myself.
And not including the 2 years you took, or 2+ years took to like learn the craft at a different level.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just all Google. you can talk about running a business and wanting to do this and that, but if you don't put the work and don't sit down and do the long nights trying to learn something, you're not going to get anywhere. And I was sitting at my downstairs table 2, 3 in the morning every day. After I worked my part-time job, even if I had a detail, let's say on the side or whatever the case is, I was up late at night. And that's my wife because she'd always complain, come to bed. I was up late at night on Google, just taking it all in, just like, okay, I need to do this for Google My Business at the time. Okay, I need to get more reviews. I need to upload pictures. I can actually change the keywords on the pictures, and maybe that'll do something. I hear it does. I don't know too much, but I still do it to this day. And keep posting, even if you got nothing out of it. And I got a whole bunch of, I still get nothing out of like Facebook and Instagram, but I do it to show you that you're alive. Yeah. That's what I learned. It's good to post some because people will forget about you in 30 seconds.
And the broader part to that is that you're just consistent.
Yeah.
Whether it works or doesn't work, you're taking the actions that may lead to something.
Yeah.
'Cause you don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure, okay, that's a lie. Yeah, I've gotten customers out of it, but in the big scheme, the big spectrum, I've done a lot of posting and not a lot of customers. But I do that to show that you're a live business. You know, you actually got something going on because people don't post for like a year or two. It looks weird. Mm-hmm. So let me just keep posting. So then the reviews started growing. And then we got into 50 reviews. And then the phone calls they're starting to come in. Don't get me wrong. It's not 10 calls a week. It's like 1 to 2 calls a week. But
and the quality of these calls, what do you think? Right
they're
on?
Decent.
Yeah, okay.
They're decent. They weren't like confused callers. Like they knew
it wasn't for a car wash.
Yeah. So when you do this kind of detailing, it's a destination service. Your clients are going to find you. It's very hard for you to convince someone to do this kind of detailing.
Okay.
So I always kind of relate on that my customers would find me. Yeah, you're going to get the occasional, like, do you paint kind of call? No. Okay, that's it. But I knew that eventually those clients are going to start coming in little by little. So they started coming in. The years go by. And then fast forward into like year 3 or so. Then I started, okay, let's do the big push. We survived COVID, 2020. A little bit of money, but it was something because I had 0 before, you know? Then we went through to year 2. Year 2, I grew by 75% income-wise. Still very little money. We don't have to get into it. Year 3, we grew by 170%. So the business started becoming more relatable. It was something that I was getting phone calls during the week. So I was getting, let's say, 3 to 10 phone calls in a week. Not all of them got booked, but it was still much more activity than 1 call a week. And that goes a long way. So it was just the opportunity to kind of speak to people. So the business was growing.
Question. Yeah. And were most of those calls specific to your area?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Even at that time, and that's not me doing my website, I always made sure to put like shirts below. I kind of I learned these things on Google, like, hey, let's put the name of the place.
Yeah.
Because it's going to do something. I believe it will, like the H1s and all that, titles and all that. But yeah, they're all related. But did I purposefully know that it would work? No. I was just doing what I thought, what I was reading upon. And
yeah, it's crazy to think too. It's like there's people here that want and will pay for this service.
Yeah.
They are here.
Yeah.
Literally all over the place. Yeah. They just got to connect.
Yeah. And when I was at year 3, year 2, year 3, that's when, you're getting older again, much older now. I'm 29 at the time. And then I started looking into, okay, what's the incomes? Like, what I know where I'm at. I'm not oblivious. Like I'm in a good side of town, you know what I'm saying? I know the average income. Let's dive a little deeper. And that's what a lot of people don't do. You're thinking about it, you're being a detailer, you can't be a detailer, you got to be a business owner. You got to look into other stuff. You can't be concerned about detailing. So I was looking into the average incomes of my area. And then I was like, okay. And then I was looking at the average service prices in the industry, like in the Texas area. And then being honest with myself and saying, where would I price my service at? Do I really want to be too cheap? Or do I really want to try to be up there, but not be able to provide a service that is equivalent to what my contemporaries can provide? Keep in mind, I'm not in a brick and mortar, so I have everything against me. in a way. And I still get reminded to this day. Surprisingly, I would think it'd stop by now, but I just chop that up to people not understanding my business. They don't know what goes into it. They just see that it's a house.
Yeah, it's residential.
Yeah, yeah. They don't really know the ins and outs, not like you do. So, you know, my approach is, okay, let's keep getting some more reviews. Let's keep diving in there and pushing away. And then we start getting into SEO. I start hearing this term, and I'm like, I've already revised my Wix website like 3 times, and I'm like, man, it's still kind of ugly. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look like my contemporaries, you know, the people in my business doing the same stuff that I'm doing. How do I get it better? So then I found SEO, the term. I started looking into it, and it's search engine optimization. And then everybody was talking about it. Not everybody, but I heard really good things about it. And then the more I looked into it, I was like, I have to optimize this website. Because I know it's not done, you know? I'm just doing whatever, telling my buddy, hey, do this, do that.
Did he, by the way, just help you out, like as a friend?
Yeah.
That's awesome. High five to that guy.
Yeah. There's not a lot of people. I've been around a lot of people, but there's been very few people that play very pivotal parts to this, and they know who they are. Really pivotal. You'd be surprised. But yeah, out of kindness of his heart, late at night, we'd be up till 3, 4 in the morning. He'd come here and he'd go to college, or he's still in college at that time. Even now, he's closer to finishing it. And he'd come and he'd sit down on he's much more technologically refined than I am, and pull out his laptop, and we'll get to it. So then we started refining the website, and then we got into SEO. So I started looking up like marketing companies, and then I found one. It wasn't local. I wasn't really too happy about that. But at that point in time, we're talking about 2021-ish, 2022, more 2021 toward the end. I was like, let me just find somebody to do the work. And they had, I got recommended by a contemporary, a fellow business owner in California, that he was good. So I was like, okay, I'll take your word. I'll give him a call. He sounded all right. Sounded really salesmanish. But maybe sometimes I could sound salesmanish too, I guess, when you're speaking to a customer. So I gave him a shot. I really didn't bat an eye of how much it cost. And we did it. We stayed on the same Wix website, which I quickly learned was probably not a good thing when I look back at it. And he optimized it. And yeah, it looked different for sure. And then probably about almost a half year in, I wasn't seeing anything per se. I mean, I wasn't seeing anything per se that could justify what I was paying for. And it wasn't just the results. It was just that I felt like I didn't have a working relationship with him. Like I was just one guy underneath a stable of many. And then I quickly found out that he was doing the same thing for another contemporary in the area. And in business, I didn't see that as being a value to me.
I see.
You know, I'm not here to say like, oh, you can't work with other people and stuff like that. But that's just not what I wanted for me. I wanted to find a partner that could understand where I'm at, because I'm not your typical detailer. You know, no one's going to detail at this level from their house and have kind of viable income and proof of work that you could just put on the stable just like anybody else. I needed a specific person, so they'd have to understand me. And when we talked, generally, it was kind of a quick thing. You know, he didn't have the time and he didn't really understand my story. And it's not to be egotistical, but you need to understand me to be part of this business. And that's what I was looking for a marketing company. I need somebody to be a partner, because you have to understand what I'm going for, because you couldn't treat detail aesthetics like a brick and mortar.
Right. Quick pause. So at this point, are you still at the part-time?
Yes.
So how long did you...
I was part-time since I got let go. However you want to put that. It doesn't matter. I was still part-time from 2019. And my last time you could consider me an employee was 2022 January.
Okay. And did you like always have the same kind of hours, or did you like slowly taper them off?
No, they tapered really off.
Okay.
And great thing when you build a relationship. I know my manager or boss at the time, or store owner, for many years. I mean, like a really old relationship. I mean, I was young at the time we met, so I'd known him for a good decade.
Wow.
So, you know, he gave me the hand, you know what I'm saying? He helped me out, You know, he's like, okay, Alexis, those are the hours you want to work? Okay. Because when I came at him after I got let go, I told him, hey, I need help, and this is a dream that I have, and this business is the business that he's in. You're built on dreams, aren't you? This is my dream, and I need you to help me out. I'll be a good employee. I'm not going to give you problems. I'll work. You know, I'll do what you need, and when I can help, I'll do more. But I just need to not be full-time. I need the days. And they started off being kind of full-time, you know what I'm saying? But the weekends were free.
Right.
And that's really hard for a lot of people to do. A lot of people can't have the weekends off. And I knew that was going to be my bread and butter for me to start. So get the weekend. So then it started tailing back. So it went to 4 days. Then it went to 3 days. Then it was like 2.5 days. And then the hours were like 35, 30, 26.
Well, those are still like considerable hours.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's not like
and I got paid a good, decent average wage here, I guess, in Texas, however you want to call it. And it was enough to pay the bills. And then over time, I scaled back there, and I was scaling up here. But it was still an infancy. It was still an infancy because a lot of people didn't see it. And I got a lot of pushback, not from my family at least.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's great. Actually, imagine like
you know how hard is it to tell your father when you're like 27 years old that you're gonna quit your job and you're gonna start washing cars.
How did they take it?
It was out here at front in the driveway. It was nighttime. My uncle was here. And I told him I was nervous. It was just outside. We're all like congregating, you know, we're talking outside. And I was like, yeah, Dad, I think I'm done. Like, I'm going to quit. I'm going to wash cars and I'm going to do my own thing. And surprisingly enough, like, he's like, okay, well, then do it. You can do it. I didn't think, my dad's been strict, my dad was in the military and not like too strict, but, it's kind of hard to tell any parent something like that. It's not an easy thing to say, at least I don't think so. And they took it really well. My wife has always been the pusher. She was down for it. Okay, go wash cars. Go start your own business.
And what's so great about that is like, then it's like literally on you. Like, well,
oh yeah.
If your family believes in you, what everyone else is like, whatever. Like you're always gonna have that chatter. But if it's like your family says you can, you believe you can. It's like, well, you gotta go for it if it's what you really want to do.
Yeah, exactly. So then that's why I did it, and that's what kind of gave me the final. Well, I had to do it because I had no job at that point.
Also out of necessity, right?
But so I did it for many things, but the push from my father, my mom, obviously understanding, my wife being definitely the pusher, because I can imagine it's not always the same case for a lot of people. It gave me the opportunity to feel that, hey, let's start over, and it's hard. It's hard when you take a big pay cut. And you got bills, you got to be a big boy. It's hard, but all I needed was a chance to survive, and I knew over time I could do it. And it was a really hard dream to push or to tell a lot of people. Still to this day, there's still people who don't really understand it. They're just more surprised than anything.
Sustaining it.
That's a big one. I get that still. But I already knew the vision. I knew it was going to work.
Yeah.
I just needed time to do it. And I had to grow up, too. You got to grow
up.
You got to grow up and you got to get a little older and refine your skill set and kind of learn how to be a business owner.
So at what point, how long? Because I didn't know this, honestly, until like 6 months ago. Like, I didn't realize I was in survival mode until I was out of it. I was like, oh, okay. I don't have to, like, take on every customer. I don't have to freak out about whatever. Like, at what point, if you're there or not, did you like realize, okay, I'm no longer just surviving. I'm at a place where like there's reliable customers. I mean, obviously it feels like you're a couple of steps ahead of that. But was there a point where you're like, not I made it, but like you crossed that threshold where you're like, all right.
When I thought it became a viable business is when I could stop working somewhere else and actually survive. And actually pay bills, have some money in my pocket, and actually go out to eat and not stress about it, because there's a lot of people in those shoes that have to worry about paying the bills. Can we even afford to do this? And I was in that position just like a lot of people for a long time. Even when I was doing this, starting it up, I wasn't there yet, So in 2022, pretty much January, that's when I considered it like Alexis was done working at the tire shop. I was on my own. Like,
yeah, how is that?
You're on your own. I mean,
how is that?
So at that point, we're kind of in that year. What is that? Like year 3.5? Yeah, around there. And And I was starting to get customers filling out form submissions on the website, getting cold calls. It's coming in, not at a crazy rate. I don't even think it's a crazy rate now. I just think it's nice. But, you know, it was cool. And then I was like, okay, I have enough work for a week to 2 weeks at a time. That might sound horrible to a lot of people. Be like, wow, you just quit your job and you only have a week ahead of schedule. How are you going to play that game? But I've always been someone of calculated risk.
Got to be.
You got to be, because how are you going to scale, you know? So at that point, I stopped working there. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm too old, too. You know what I'm saying? I'm only 31, but you have to look at yourself and kind of understand where's a limit for where you're at. And in a physical type of job like that I think that was my limit if I wasn't going to make more money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So started working, and then the leads little by little came in. I implemented a lot of things. I'd grown a lot. I've learned a lot at that point. So SEO from myself, Google has always been my big push, you know, so Google. And then I've already been refining my skills with customers. So speaking to them properly.
Over time, do you get more word of mouth referrals, or is that not really that common in this business? Because like, there's less people who, I don't know, in my opinion, there's less people who get the film, the ceramic coating. Like, there might be one person in one network that needs that.
So referrals are a thing, and I'm still surprised even today. You know, the client that I just had pick up yesterday, he brought his other vehicle again. You know, he brought a second vehicle to me. He recommended his last, his good buddy to come on by and bring his car. So yeah, referrals are a thing, but in no way form I'm saying like a lot of other businesses that are like, oh yeah, it's a lot of referrals and word of mouth. No,
this is more like
this is all me cold calling knowledge. And you get on my website, I call you back, you fill out a form submission, we get to talk. We talk 20-30 minutes. I give you more education than anybody in San Antonio can possibly give you. And then you build trust in me, and that's what has gotten the customers to come here. They trust me, that is for sure. And they trust me because they actually can call me later or text me later. And it's still all business oriented, obviously. And they can ask questions and not feel like I'm going to ghost them or not talk to them again or be annoyed or be rude. And I'm saying all these things because this is stuff that I hear from customers every week.
Like they've had a different experience.
Yeah. And it's still surprising to this day to think that there's a lot of businesses that act like that or make their customers feel that way. And it's just a kind of a regular thing for them. And it's not. And it'll never catch up to you, I guess, depending on where you're at, if you're in a higher point in life. But that's not how I want to go about it. You know, I think you're gonna catch more bees with honey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just that approach. So yeah. So over time, just being a great business owner, just handling the phone calls, replying to emails as soon as possible. If they text you, which I don't really do that. You got to talk to me. I won't text you back. But after we've already engaged, and yeah, I'll text you on the business phone. You know, just being dotting my I's, crossing my T's, building out invoices. I got a really great booking system.
Yeah, I figured you probably have that down.
Yeah.
So what is your process? Like what?
So when anyone fills out a form submission, or even if they came and called me and I'd have nothing back on them from email or anything like that, I build out a profile. Super simple. Name, last, email, whatever, notes in there. I build them out a profile.
What do you use specifically? Like
Mobile Tech RX.
Mobile Tech.
That is, yeah. So it's like a software or CRM for like detailing PDR, window tint, vinyl, PPF. So it's like a detailing kind of.
So software.
Yeah, exactly. So a software. So I built out the profile, put their vehicle in it. It itemizes everything, the invoice, everything on the back end that I've already kind of typed up. It populates it. And it's a really nice.
Even that's professional.
It's an invoice.
It's not a text message like around $300.
Not
or whatever the price is.
Not
it's
at
like
all. It's a legit invoice, signature and everything, date, stamp time, a picture of their vehicle. The services are broken down, which a lot of places don't do that. You know, so and that matters. At least to somebody will matter. And then when you're going for picky clientele or higher end clientele. Oh yeah,
it justifies the spend too.
Oh yeah. And then when you come at a customer and they're like, oh, okay. Hey, I'm going to email you your estimate. Or I'm going to, oh, okay. Hey, can you sign off on the deposit? Oh, okay. Yeah. Back to what I was saying before. if I was going to have people come to my residential and they've already started developing some trust or, knowledge from reviews online, how was I going to complete it when they got here? So it's a whole microcosm of all different approaches and dotting my I's and crossing my T's when I get a client in here. And I'm inside of me, I'm antsy. I'm like, okay, I gotta show them. I gotta give them everything I got because it took everything to get them here. Even if it's you at year 4.5 coming in as a client, I gotta give you what I gave in the beginning. So that's just my approach to it. So speaking of them, invoices, texting, emails, referrals, you need a link to this. When a customer comes, picks up their vehicle, I give them a whole product list. I give them a whole product list. Like, hey, you need this, you need that. Here's a breakdown of why we did the service, what you need to do. We do a whole walk around here. We go through everything that's in their vehicle. They get their certificate or their warranty cards. They get their broken down invoice. They get some tags. They get a maintenance date recommendation. I mean, it's a whole thing. So I had to make sure when someone came here, it was the same or not, if not better service that they could get a brick and mortar just in my 300 square foot garage.
Yeah, and when you do, it sounds like when you do that much for your customers, it makes them question like, damn, this place is doing better than the brick and mortar that, wasn't as good. Like that's a weird scale. Like, okay.
Or they didn't take the time to talk to me.
Right.
I hear that a lot. I hear it a lot.
And that's competitive advantage
Yes. And
detail aesthetics.
For the people that, there could be I'm too busy or this and that well, keep in mind, a lot of business owners have like front desk people too. So I'm not saying it's them per se.
Right.
But you need to refine your approach too. If you're going to have someone handling the calls, they need to be just as intelligent as you if they're going to do that job. At least that's what makes sense to me, because how can you rely so much information or sales on someone if they don't have it in them?
Right.
Per se. So yeah, it's that whole approach right there.
Gotcha.
With getting it in.
So, all right. So to wrap that part up, you quit your part-time job.
Yeah.
You started going solo. You're booked about 1 to 2 weeks out. Where are we then? Are we close to now?
We're almost there. Which
is 2023, July 1st.
Yeah.
For reference.
Yeah. So we're already in 22 at that point, 2022. We're kind of in the midpoint, getting really close to when I give you a call. I go through that marketing company. I give them a shot. Whatever the results were the results, but that wasn't the point of why I broke off or I kind of let them go. It was because I didn't think they cared about my story and they didn't know enough about me for me to really have full faith in what they could do. Maybe they could have. I don't know. But that's not what I wanted. And when you're a business owner, you're going to do what you want. I'd already been doing what everybody wanted for so many years. You know what I'm saying? So I let them go. And then I quickly start shopping around. And I'm like, okay, I need to find someone local. I need to get the marketing. I need something to happen, because I felt like it was stagnating a little bit. And I was still at that like 2-week kind of mark of having work. The calls were okay, but nowhere near what, from what you hear from your contemporaries, you know what I'm saying? And the amounts of income, they need more. I was always basing off my figures from taxes. I break down everything. I even break down the numbers of days I work to equal the amount of money that I made. Because when you start a business, you can't just tell someone, oh, I worked all year and I made this amount of money, when you don't work all year.
Right.
I was only working, like my first full year of business, I had 71 days of work out of 360 days. So the figure was based on that amount of days. So I knew every year I was evaluating, okay, I worked 90 days this year. I worked 120 days this year. This is what money I was making. Okay, so we're looking good, but what are we seeing? A huge gap in work. Like, there's all these days, and I wasn't filling it out. So then we start getting to that point. It's like, no. If I need to make more money, I need to work more days. So I need more work. So I'm doing research. I'm trying to find a local marketing company, or at least in the state. And then I find Symphony Advertising. That's pretty much it. Google. I mean, Google's my friend.
So did you Google us? Or you were Googling like
I Googled
Texas?
Yeah, I Googled. Yeah. So on the Google search, it was probably like marketing companies, local, San Antonio, Austin, Texas.
Because you'd have to go through.
Houston. Yeah.
You must have seen a lot.
I saw a lot, but you got to keep in mind, not a lot of people have like really good information. Even if their website looks decent, like the front homepage, like I'm a skeptical person. So I'll like really look at reviews, like really look at them. And if it sounds off to me or something's weird, because I know the game. Like I've been around. I know about fake reviews. Yeah. I remember, not to jump off topic, but I remember in my third year business, a customer called me. He's like, "Oh yeah, I saw the fake reviews," and he was joking per se, but I didn't take it like he was joking. So when I came and did the work, obviously I gave him a fantastic experience. He came back. He called me maybe like half a year later. And he's like, "Oh, do you remember me?" And I did this and that. I was like, "Oh, yeah, you're the guy who said I got fake reviews." And he laughed about it and all that. And he's like, "Nah, man, that's not what I meant." And I was like, "It's all right. Either way." But, yeah, so like when I look at reviews and stuff, I'm a pretty picky person. Like personally, I'm a very... a very interesting person, I guess you can say. So looking at that stuff, I looked through a lot, and then I saw yours. I saw your homepage, and I really liked what I was reading. So like the breaking down of it, and then when I was going through the tabs, I found the SEO tab, and then more specific like detailing, and chop it up to good reviews, and I liked what I was reading. I don't know. It kind of hit me kind of like how my business is. It kind of approached me kind of honest. And I might be an idiot for saying that, but to me it felt honest. I don't know. It's kind of hard. Intuition, I guess.
Hopefully it worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that just so happens to be where we cross paths.
Yeah.
But that aside, okay, so you go with this new agency that happens to be us, but we'll just keep that apart. Yeah. What happens then?
So we get to work. We do a new website because from early in the conversation, I said I was getting tired of my Wix website, and it didn't look good enough. It just didn't look good enough. I don't know if it was how I laid it out or maybe it's just Wix itself, but I just didn't like the way it approached. So your recommendation, let's do a website. Let's do SEO from there, because at that point, I had already been learning a lot about SEO, about the term, and I was like, I need to do that. Whatever that is, I need to get it done.
Quick question. So as a business owner, what made you take the approach of, instead of me doing the SEO myself, let me hire somebody to help me do this?
Because you hire smarter people if you want to grow. That's one thing I've heard by a lot of people, that you need to surround yourself with people who can do things better than you. When I got out of my way, this is a lot, and we're not going to keep talking about this whole story, but if you want to grow, you need to get out of your way, because a lot of times, especially detailers, we get in our way in a lot of aspects, whether it's just cleaning the wheels or scrubbing the tires right, to even getting the right services done or looking for some help, besides thinking that you can do everything. I quickly realized around like year 3, I couldn't do it by myself because I was getting pulled everywhere, and I have a personal life,
right?
Just like everybody else. I couldn't do it by myself, and that's why I relied on my friend to do the website, and then he's going to meet a cap, you know what I'm saying? And then stagnation comes. Like I said, okay, well, we need to keep pushing, but I can't do it myself. I need to get people who are smarter than me.
And at some point, I suppose you realize the amount of effort it will take me to complete this is more than the cost of getting the help.
Yeah, especially if you're talking about the sleepless nights.
Yeah. Sleep is nice.
Yeah.
A social life is nice.
Yeah, and then you get a little older, and then you start realizing, hey, maybe sleep is kind of important. My body's not really down to do the 3 a.m.s anymore. So I just looked at finding smarter people who could do their job, do it well. And I mean well. I mean, just like, here comes a little bit of ego. I want them to be just as good as me, if not better, at least in their craft.
Right.
Set me straight, you know what I'm saying? or impress me, you know what I'm saying? Or show me that you can do it better than me. Because I've said to a lot of clients, ask me, I don't care about being the best detailer. That's not going to get me anywhere. What's going to get me anywhere and what's gotten me so far is being a good business owner and being an honest, transparent person, even when it was hard to do it, where a lot of people fail to do that for whatever reason. They just don't want to be honest and transparent. Maybe they're concerned too much about money, or maybe they just don't want to put the effort. So going into marketing, let me hire someone smarter, better. We talked. I liked your approach. You told me what needed to be done, and then it's just, hey, it's the start of a working relationship, Whatever about money, but, let's see what you can do. Let's see if it works. Trust the process, because SEO is not a magic pill. A lot of people still think it's something that gets done real quick. It's not. I already knew that from before.
Thank God.
Yeah, because I can imagine you could
the worst part,
you probably
man.
get hammered a lot. Like a month later, it's like, hey man, I'm not. Am I growing?
Is there any way we can accelerate the process to 1 month?
I want to get.
No, I can't. I would.
I bet you get calls. It's like, hey, I know I was only getting like 1 call a week. Can I get like 30?
Oh man, yeah, it's crazy.
No, it's a long game, and I'm still in the long game. Just with this working relationship, it's just like we're gonna get there little by little, and then obviously we get closer to these dates now, and little by little, the website looks better and better. It's obviously working. We're getting more calls consistently.
Can you? Because I don't actually know. So we do work. But it's not like we get the phone calls. It's not like we get the... So can you explain what the difference was between Wix? And I don't think Wix... There's anything wrong with Wix. I just think the people that work on WordPress sites are of higher caliber. That's why they tend to be better. So like, what was the difference? What has been the difference between being on Wix with not really great SEO to WordPress that's in progress still, I would say? And it's been, what, like 6 months, 8 months, something like that?
Yeah, closer to 8, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 8 months, actually.
All I know is that I had a lot of issues, like whether it's like on the phone or stuff with like uploading speeds and kind of stuff not showing correctly. So that for sure I noticed on not just my phone. I do it on like people's phones. Hey, let me check something out, or does this work, or is it working? So I noticed like maybe like technical stuff going on with it. But I just thought it wasn't refined enough, for what I was looking for.
Yeah, that part I remember, because you were like very particular, like put this here, put this picture there. You would draw out like make it like this. So it was like whatever was in your head, it's pretty much on the website.
It's just like if you get an employee, you can't just tell them to do a job. You show them once or kind of vague about it and expect them to do it right. So in this working relationship, it's just like, okay, I want Cesar and his team to help me out. Well, let me help them out by being as specific as possible, being polite, because I'm not trying to come off as kind of like a schmuck, and be like, hey, do this, or else, or whatever. So it's like, okay, even in my ugly chicken handwriting, let me scribble the stuff out. Let me do a box and do it as easy as that, because when you're communicating email, a lot of stuff is not transferred. You don't get the transfer of like specifics per se.
Yeah.
Typing it up.
And like, I would actually prefer the more specific person, because there are people who you show them a product, a web design, let's say, and they're like, it needs more oomph. And they won't say like, is it the color? Is it the image up front? Is it the font? Like, what is it? The X factor's missing.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know.
Can you solve for X for me? Because I don't know what your X is.
Paint me a picture.
Yeah, draw it. I don't care. Like, show me reference sites. Like, I don't know. But yeah, for our journey was very like, I want it like this, and I was like, great.
Yeah, so
we can do that.
Yeah, so if I help them out with all the emails and type it up, take a screenshot, take a picture in the dim light, whatever, highlight it with red, I knew that he could do his job that I know he can do well. I can just make it easier for him, so it's not a bunch of back and forth. Because at the end of the day, then he's taking more time that he wants. It's taking more time that I want. So let's make it as simple, just like when I speak to a customer, let's just break it down so we can understand each other. And that's how I went. But that's how you should approach any kind of working relationship. You should really keen on understanding and kind of communication, because it'll fizzle out really quick.
I agree.
Really easy.
Cool. So we're almost here?
Almost here.
Okay. So where are we at? What's the next part?
So I would say we're pretty much, we're like maybe a few months off or here already. So right now, business is good. We've been running a majority of this year, and we're already in July now. We've been running about a month out, maybe more. So I've been averaging 4 to 6 weeks of full bookings. Everything here at Detail Aesthetics is by private deposits also. So you can't get here to get work done without putting a deposit down, which is one thing I learned really quickly early in my business, that a lot of people will say they'll show up and they don't show up. Mm-hmm. But when you put a little earnest money in there, people take you much more serious. And that's always part of the thing that I wanted. I want people to take me serious, because I'm going to do a really good job. And I'm going to give them everything I got, whether it's customer service, retention, be happy, invoice, everything that I could do. So let's put a little push on there. And
could you like just very briefly say, like, how do you communicate, like, hey, to book with us, you need to give a deposit? Like, how do you communicate that part?
I used to think it'd be really hard. It's not. You just tell them. It's like after we talk, let's say about like the details of their detail. That's funny. When you get toward the end of it, most of them will bring it up like, okay, how do we schedule? And at that point, then I'm sort of like, all right, well, simple enough. Here are detail aesthetics. This is my whole spiel. Here are detail aesthetics. Everything's like private booking. Everybody has their own spot. Nobody gets in each other's way. You get all the work that you need for your vehicle, so you get all the time that you deserve. Like that. And it's a deposit, and it's this amount. Super simple, and it has not been an issue, at least to.
I mean, the way you phrase it is great. Like the reason that there's a deposit is because we're blocking off that time for you specifically.
Yeah.
Full attention. Not working on other cars. This is your slot.
That's super.
So it's like a
valuable.
tier thing. It's not like a. You're not phrasing it like, well, we want to make sure you don't cancel on us. It's not that.
No.
It's not that. It's more like we're doing this seriously.
Yeah.
Which adds more value.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this guy.
A lot of people are like, and then
whoa.
yeah, a lot of people are like,
make
yeah.
sure I'll be there on time.
Yeah. And then when you got reviews of people saying it for you, then you don't even have to say it.
Yeah.
You know, I got a newer review. He's like, you need to see a Lexus weeks to months in advance. You know, you're not going to get in there because it's not. And it's sometimes, and I hate having that conversation. It's just like, hey, Lexus, can I come in for next week? I really want to get it done. And it's just like, man, it's a good and a bad problem that I have.
Yeah.
Depending
What do you think about that situation? Is it better to be on this side? I think obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know you got work coming in. It's good to know that your month's already done when you're not even in that month.
So I suppose very good. I suppose the guy that would like, or man or woman, a week later, you try to book them when you can.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're always going to have those clients where they're not really in a rush, so we can always play with things around, or there's, you're going to have those clients where I don't care, Alexis, whenever you get to it. I get a lot of those clients, and those clients tend to be much more on the easier going and more higher end vehicles, which is great. That's what I want to work on. But those are the ones that are kind of easier to move around. And then like the last whim jobs, how I call it, like the last minute stuff that can be tough, but I try to make it happen. And if that day means I got 2 or 3 cars here, which is pretty funny to even kind of think that I'm at that point where I got 2 or 3 cars in the driveway, I try to make it happen. It's business. I clock in, I clock out, I time everything, and if I can make money and do it right. Which has always been the thing. Always, even when I text customers, I can tell them it's going to get done right the first time. Believe that. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people say that and they don't ever do it. But trust me, it gets done right the first time. And then I try to get them in, but it's not always easy too. I mean, especially when it ends up being a couple people in a certain time frame. Imagine how that is. And then if you're just one person like me, because I'm still doing everything myself, it could be a little much.
Yeah, I mean, you only have so much energy in a day and so much time in a day. Oh my God, it died. Is it dead?
I think it died maybe 20 seconds ago. Oh.
So I think we'll do one more segment.
Okay. Yeah.
You good on that?
Yeah.
Camera died. Okay, cool. So great. So you're booked up a month and a half in advance. Things are going well. We'll kind of try to. Oh, it's dead. Okay, so for the rest of this, it will just be an audio.
Okay.
Put a picture of us.
Cool.
Cool. So I just what is like some of the specifics? Like, what do you like to do? Like specifically detail aesthetics. Like, I know you guys do more ceramic coating stuff.
Yeah.
Just talk to me about some of the like technical stuff about your business that you've gotten to that is what you do. Like, what is it that you sell? What is it that you're known for? Or whichever way you want to take it. I'm kind of curious because I see stuff I don't normally see here,
Yeah. So I'm not really car washing. My schedule's not full of car washes because you can't make money that way. And I don't have a fleet of people underneath me. It's just me. So I do detailing. So my details are a little bit on the higher end because they involve more time. But we do a lot of, thorough detailing. So interior cleanings, not vacuums and wipe downs, like cleanings that take a couple hours. And then a lot of polishing. So paint correction. So removal of scratches on the paint, refining paint work, some wet sanding, whether it's light polishing to really extensive polishing. I polished a car for 25 hours total just to get it where it was needed. obviously we charge accordingly for it.
Right.
And then, a lot of ceramic coatings, because that is a main service, just like a lot of detailers out there now. And we push it. We push really good coatings, professional line coatings. But it's not per se about the coating. It's more of the education that goes into it, because that's what I'm selling. I'm selling a service and experience, education. I'm not selling a figure. Like, I'm not selling a year or something like that, which is a huge misconception, which is not being honest with your customer.
So just for us non-detailers, non-coder people, can you elaborate a little bit on that? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so ceramic coatings are a long-lasting form of protection, kind of in the same realm if you were to talk about wax as protecting your vehicle. Ceramic coating is just like steroid, it's like wax on steroids, like times 100. So the durability lasts really long. It could be from 1 year to several years durability claimed. And that protection, gives you great UVB protection, great gloss on the paint, hydrophobic, so water beating, which is a really popular thing. And then obviously, stain resistance for the pre-oxidation, so a lot of chemical protection from the environment outside. So like any fallout, anything you can think of, anything that gets on your car. So it's going to help make life easier, but that's all it's going to do. It's not a magic pill, which has been a big thing that has kind of gotten out there. And then it's gotten into customers. So customers are reading these things online, and they're starting to think that, hey, I can set my car on fire and I got a ceramic coating, so it's going to be okay. And I don't even have to wash my car for a year, and it's going to be fine. And that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So that's where I've been able to distinguish my approach with speaking to potential clients is, hey, I'm going to give you much more information, much more honesty than anyone you've probably called, because they're not going to tell you a lot of these things. They're just going to tell you what you want to hear, what they want to tell you, like, yeah, you're going to be good for 5 years.
So in my version is, we can rank you number 1 in 2 months.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. 3 months. That's a lot of people come to us and they're like, well, they said they can do it in, 3 months. I'm like, then go with them.
Yeah.
Like, then I can't help.
Yeah.
Like, that's not reality.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're selling.
Yeah. I told people, same thing. They're like, oh yeah, your car's going to be protected for 5-7 years. No, it's not going to work. It could, but I got to know how you maintain your vehicle. So when I speak to customers who are looking for the service, they're getting vetted at the same time. And that's one thing I've been able to do in the position I am in my business, is not take every client, because not every client is a good client.
Right. When did you learn that?
I learned that probably around year 1. I already kind of knew about it from what I saw, like interactions with other business owners and seeing like stuff go haywire. And it always came down to communication. Always, in any business, but in detailing, trust me, all the complaints you'll find online about other business owner detailers, it's always communication. And guess what? It's always on them. It's never on the client.
Right.
So it was always communicating. So when I got into this kind of service, I want the higher tickets and I want them to spend the kind of money, but I knew it wasn't right if I did it that way. And put it on me just trying to be a nice person, I guess. But I just couldn't go about it that way. I couldn't just say, yeah, Mr. John Smith, you're going to be good for 5 years. And then me not even asking the question, like, do you even wash your car? Do you maintain it? How do you maintain it? Oh, I wash my car once every 8 months, and it's outside underneath a tree, underneath a sappy tree for 6 months a year. Well, no, your protection doesn't matter about your coating. Your paint's not going to be okay for 5 years if it's in that condition. Let me educate you and tell you why. And then let me tell you about how you can correct it. And then if we get into protection, let me tell you how you can protect your investment. And that is the value that has gotten me to the point where we're doing 8 to 10 coatings a month consistently.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we're in the triple digits every year, or I am in the triple digits every year. And that's not an easy feat, but I've been able to kind of get to that point just by education and a lot of education. And somebody will find the value to it. But trust me, I talk to a lot of people and I don't ever hear from them again too. So
Yeah. What would you say if because people are looking for your service, I would assume that most of them are in the market for what you actually sell.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yeah.
But then you're going to get the people that are like,
Like I said, it's a destination service.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you should really be calling me if it's not for a service that's on my website. because you'd have to look for it. You know, even if you go on Google and you type in like car wash, I mean, I guess maybe it'll pop up. I don't really get those, so I don't think I'd really pop up for it. But there shouldn't be a reason why it should be any service that I don't do that you should be calling me for. And then most of the time, you should be on the website looking at stuff. And that's kind of what I've gathered from speaking to people. Like, they've already been on the website. They've been on the pages. They kind of read it. They already know stuff by name.
So they're already getting educated.
Yeah. So they're already getting that pre-education already. You know what I'm saying? So it makes my job easier. Really easy. Sometimes I don't even have to do anything. I don't have to even sell them. I don't sell anything at this point anymore. I'm not in that position anymore. Everyone gets to do. Customers will sell themselves. If I educate them, they'll make the decision before I can ask them to make a decision. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So,
It's more like, I've heard this before. It's like you're just they're in a uncertainty thing.
Yeah.
And you're just bringing them closer to like, okay, this is the place to go to.
Yeah.
Versus if you say the wrong stuff or your website has the wrong stuff, it's like, wait a minute, red flag.
And if you can be a good guide, then that's how you'll get customers. That's how it be. There's a book. I can't remember the book what it was, but it was basically what I took from it was becoming a guide in the selling process and sales, not becoming a hero. So, and most business owners, from what I've gathered from that book and kind of what I've seen over years, which trust me, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff in businesses. What I've noticed about owners is they try to make themselves the hero in a conversation with a potential client in any industry. And that's good, I guess, but you're just talking about you. Nobody wants to talk about you. If they want to talk about you, they'll talk about you. They'll say, oh, I saw your reviews, Alexis. I hear these really good things. Oh, I saw this car. Oh, this car looked crazy. It looked nice. But they want to talk about themselves, and they want to talk about their car. So when I speak to a client, I'm not talking about myself. I've been doing this for this many years. I can do a good job. I can do a better job than this guy down the street. I don't say anything like that because it's about them. So my approach is, how do I become a guide, kind of like Yoda to Luke, which that's a guide and a story. How do I get that hero, which is them, in the position of sales? How do I get them to where they're trying to get to? That's all I do. That is literally my approach when I speak to someone in person or on the phone. How can I become a guide and help them get to the decision that they want to make? And it's always going to be favorable because they're choosing my business, and my business is already set up to be profitable, and it all takes care of itself at the end.
Yeah, that's a great approach to it. One more thing. So we are obviously in the present. What's to come? What's the future? What's the plan? What do you think of the future? Maybe this year, maybe long term. Just what do you have?
So we're already halfway in 2023. So more than 4.5 years in at this point. It's time to scale. I'm a local. I love the community. I've been part of it since 2004. So when I was young, a little older now, white hairs.
You're not even that old. What are you, 31?
Yeah.
Bro, you're not
I got white hairs. They're sprouting real quick, too.
That's a different scenario, but yeah. Because you still could go 30 more years.
Yeah.
You could do a lot.
Yeah. Do a lot. Not obviously, I wouldn't. Here's my thing. I'm not going to keep doing this solely because I want to be a profitable business owner. I want to be an entrepreneur. And I know that I only have a certain lifespan with this business in a certain position, if you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
So I can't keep scrubbing tires.
Right.
So I know.
So when you hit stagnation or whatever it was, you always hit it and you just move the bar
exactly.
further and further.
So then now I'm at that point where it's like, okay, we're getting the customers. We got a good thing going with Google marketing. It's working. It's in those still infancy stages, but it's going to keep doing its thing because I know it's working. And I'm going to keep working and refining. So how do we scale? And there's the thing. Alexis, well, how do you scale? You need to leave. You need to move. So now you need more space because I need it. Because now it's just like, man, I'd love a little bit more space. I'd love to get a car more in here. I'd like to be more profitable, and I'd like to scale the business and it be something that could, pay all the bills, give me a certain type of lifestyle, and I could actually do something other than what I do. Now, my thing is not to grow detail aesthetics and, you'll never hear or see me again. I'm just the business owner, but you'll never talk to me. That is not what I'm going to do. I can promise that right now. And I've told my wife that since the beginning. That's not what's going to happen here. I'm always going to play that part. I just need to scale it. I need to be bigger. I need to have a bigger space, and that's what we're looking at right now. So if everything works out good, then I'm doing the ball rolling now. So next year we have a space or something kind of concrete where we can kind of expand and go there and start learning all the other stuff that I haven't done yet. So employees, or at least one starting off, and refining everything that you'd have to refine for a brick and mortar, because like you can tell, I'm not there yet. So now it's a whole nother game. And I imagine when we get to that point, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot more on my shoulders. And that's one good thing is you hire people who are smarter than you, or people that you trust, that are better. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find better people, smarter people, to do what I need them to do. And then I'll still play that part. You're still going to talk to me. I'm still going to know what's going on. I want that communication, because I for sure know that has played the biggest factor to where I'm at now. If I didn't have customer service and I didn't care enough and actually try to be honest and transparent and actually let that bleed into my customers, and you can see it on the reviews, they give some really crazy testimonials, some really nice stuff. If I didn't do that, there's no way I should have made it. Not from a 4-foot table in an empty garage. Not before COVID. I should not have made it. But I made it because I had the work ethic to make it work, and I didn't quit when it was said that I wasn't going to make it. It was tough. Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure every business around the time that I started went through the same exact thing. But I stuck with it. So, we're going to scale. Next year, we're going to scale, hopefully. Still stay local. More than likely, here's the funny thing. I'm in Cibolo. It might be Shirts, Cibolo, whatever. We're still going to be in the same area. But just a bigger area, bigger space, and do the same services. Bring on some higher end services that I want to. That gives me the location.
More higher end?
Yeah, that allows me to do a much more higher tier of work, where I'm kind of capped off here. Not because I can't do it, because I could do it, but I'm not. It's not enclosed. It's not perfect. The temperature. There's a lot of things that go into it. It's not as perfect as I need it to be to do a service to my liking, that I could feel comfortable selling it.
Right.
And do it as well as I've been doing all the stuff that I've been doing all these years, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. So
scale it and grow the business to where it is. And then at the point where I can make an investment and kind of dabble into something else, and not work it per se, because at that point, I don't know how old I'll be at that point. But hopefully in 5 years, I'll be 36 at that time, around there, God willing. I can have some type of money to invest into a lot of different things that I've been thinking about. I'm really up on landscaping. I think it's a really viable business. I have a company that does mine.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for that work. And I think that might have a lot to do with why I do detailing. I have a lot of respect for it. I have a lot of respect and admiration for somebody who works in the weather and with their own grit, and especially a business like that is built on one person or a few to make it become something bigger. And landscaping is a great business. I mean, I've seen some stories. The guy who does my stuff, his story is amazing. I mean, it's really crazy stuff, Should make a movie on it. But, I'd love to get another story. I'd like to invest.
Yeah.
I want to invest because there's going to be a day where I want to make money without physically doing it. And I think that's a lot of people's goals, or it should be your goal, or else you're going to be working until you can't and you're done. And that'll be the goal. But detail aesthetics is here to stay. It's always going to be a big part of San Antonio, the northeast side. And I don't need the affirmation for it, because I know that it's going to do it, because I've been doing it from a little garage for 4.5 years already. So it'll be there.
Cool, man. Well, that's going to wrap up the Local Service Podcast episode. Who knows what with Alexis from Detail Aesthetics. Thank you, man, for having me. Great place. Obviously, if you guys are in the Cibolo, San Antonio area, use Detail Aesthetics for all their services. DetailAesthetics.com. Look up their Google profile.
Yep.
Any other parting words?
Thank you. That's all I can say. From the bottom of my heart, being part of this community for a long time, and then running my business for 4.5 years already, it means a lot that I've been given the opportunity to do this kind of work. The customers that have found me have entrusted me to do a type of service, and they give me the opportunity to grow and scale. And those day ones have seen it, and it's little by little, and it's become something. And I'm really thankful for the community. And I think we need businesses that stick to their guns and stick to where they're at. Don't jump around. And I'm here to stay. And hopefully, I play a really pivotal part in the Church Cibolo community for many years, where I can give back and all that. That's always been the dream. So I want to play a part.
Awesome. Well, peace out. There's no camera, but there was.